Good morning, First Unitarian. Whoever you are, wherever you are, whomever you love, whatever your background or color, we are glad you are here. Welcome to this journey of the mind, the heart, and the spirit. Our call to worship today is by D. Galloway. You are the creator. As a child, you try on big people's dresses, or pants or shoes, and imagine what kind of person you might grow up to be. And this is an act of creation. As a youth, you notice the grocer, the nurse, the police officer, the singer, the cowboy, the firefighter, and the sales clerk, and wonder if one day you might be counted as one among them. And this is an act of creation. As you fall in love for the first time, you imagine a future where you and your beloved can join all two separate lives to make a single life together. And this is an act of creation. Imagine you, imagine your life, and this is not so very difficult unless the life you lead is not to your liking. But even then, you must imagine something. Even then, you must admit that life is something you make up as you go along. This is the act of creation. And like Dorothy and Oz, this has always been within you. You have always held the power to create life. And knowing, believing, indulging this power, this too is the act of creation. You are the creator.
Whoever you are, wherever you are welcome here. This song is for you. We are many, we are one. The light of the world is within you. Sacred and worthy is your soul. Place has been made for you. I'm the underbelly, I am the claw, never one thing, no, not one thing at all. I'm a street fighter, I'm a prayer for peace, I'm a holy roller, I'm a honeybee. I am the truth, I am a lie, I am the ground, I am the sky. I am the silence, I am the call, never one thing, no, not one thing at all. I'm the underbelly, I am the claw, never one thing, no, not one thing at all. I'm a street fighter, I'm a prayer for peace, I'm a holy roller, I'm a honeybee. I am hope, I am defeat, I am broken, I am complete. I am the grace, I am the fall, never one thing, no, not one thing at all. I'm the underbelly, I am the claw, never one thing, no, not one thing at all. I'm a street fighter, I'm a prayer for peace, I'm a holy roller, I'm a honeybee. Never one thing, no, not one thing peace. I'm a holy roller, I'm a honeybee. Belly, I am the claw, never one thing, no, not one thing at all. I'm a street fighter, I'm a prayer for peace, I'm a holy roller, I'm a honeybee. I am a lion, I am a swan, I am the bull, I am the fawn, I am a woman, I am the rain, I am my own, never one thing. I'm the underbelly, I am the claw, never one thing, no, not one thing at all. I'm a street fighter, I'm a prayer for peace, I'm a holy roller, I'm a honeybee.
Good morning, hearts and brains. How are you this morning? Good. Thank you. The brain is kind of a big deal. Did you know that? It's kind of a big deal. If you have ever seen a cartoon portraying a brain and a heart kind of in conversation with each other, you're probably looking at the work of Nick Selleck, who's an artist and cartoonist who is also known as the Awkward Yeti. Just nod if you've ever seen something like this, hearts and brains talking. Okay, all right. And if you haven't, now you have to go look at it after the service. So Nick has written a book called The Brain is Kind of a Big Deal. And if you're young or young at heart and you'd like to take a look at some of the pictures, you're welcome to come on up here and get cozy. To start us off, I'm just gonna let you know the inside, because he's an artist, the inside of the jacket cover is a band poster for the Brainiacs. And I'm going to come down here, and Lena's going to have our youth who are up here with us maybe identify some of the band members. Can we do that?
Okie dokie. Who do you think that is? What instrument are they playing? A piano, that's right. And what about that one? Guitar. Oh, guitar or bass. What might they also be doing if there's a mic there? Singing, that's right. And here?
He's also playing bass or guitar.
Yeah, you're right, the bass. And here?
Drums.
Drums. And here? Drums, those are called bongos. They're a specific type of drum. And here?
They're the other singers.
Yeah, the backup vocals.
Cool. So we've got the muscles in the band, and the heart, and the brain, and the lungs, and the tongue, and the stomach. So the brain is kind of a big deal, and I'm going to read a little bit of this book to you. And you can look at the artwork, and all of the additional cartoons and everything will be out there. Also, a challenge for some of the parent-aged folks. He has done parodies of album covers on here, and so you can come out and try to figure out. I figured all of them out except one. So, inside of your head and behind your eyes and under your hair is one of the coolest things about you, your brain. Your brain is the command center of your entire body, a living computer. It's constantly collecting and storing new information about everything you experience. That way, the next time you experience the same thing, your brain will know exactly what to do. Without your brain, you wouldn't even be able to read or understand these words or even turn the page. Sure, for you, turning the page may have seemed easy, or for me, but your brain had to move a lot of different muscles in just the right way to make that happen. Your brain works really hard all the time without you even knowing it. Within your brain are 5 sections called lobes, and each lobe does something a little different, but all the parts work together. The brain is made up of billions of things called neurons, and they pass messages across gaps called synapses. Once a message leaves the brain, it travels through long, stringy nerves, and nerves are like roads. They connect the brain to everything else in the body. Your brain also uses nerves to get messages back from the rest of your body. If you get a paper cut or scrape on your knee, a nerve will let your brain know very quickly. Your brain connects to the rest of your body through the nervous system, and the nervous system is made up of your brain stem and spinal cord and nerves. And brain on that page says, your body is full of weird stuff. Your brain makes your body do a lot of important things that keep you alive without you even thinking about it, like telling your heart to beat and your lungs to breathe. Your brain tells you when you need to eat. Your stomach and gut send messages to your brain, and your brain decides when you're hungry or full. Are you tired right now? If you are, your brain is getting messages from your body that you need to sleep soon. When you sleep, your brain and body get a lot of much needed rest. And while you dream, the brain gets ready for the next day. And sometimes it dreams about weird stuff. Anybody else? Weird stuff? Yeah. Now it's time to move on to even more fun stuff, the stuff that makes you, you. Your brain helps you turn thoughts into words so you can say or write what you've been thinking. When you talk and write in a way that other people understand, you're using language. Remember how the brain collects information like a computer and keeps it for later? Your brain is really good at using information to figure stuff out along with the senses. Your ears are always listening and your skin is always feeling. Anytime you feel with your sense of touch, like something soft or wet, messages are sent to your brain. When you touch something, your brain's experience can be really useful, especially if whatever you've touched is sharp or too hot. Then your brain can help you avoid it to keep you safe. Your brain is also in charge of telling your muscles and body exactly how to move. When you run, your brain gives your body very specific instructions. When you are in danger, your brain is firing messages all throughout your nervous system to make movements happen. By now, you know that your brain is always collecting information like a computer, and that information gets stored in your memory, and you have long-term memory and short-term memory. Something the brain is really, really good at is thinking. Thinking and thinking and thinking. Your brain is thinking about things pretty much all the time. You can imagine things and solve problems just by thinking about them. Every invention that people ever created, from rockets and medicine to toilets and pizza, came from thinking about ways to make it better. And did you know your feelings like love come from your brain too? In this cartoon, the heart says, "Aw, I love love." And the brain says, "You have nothing to do with it." You can feel happy, sad, angry, or scared without ever having to learn how. You can control how you react when you feel something, but your feelings happen no matter what. Your brain is pretty important. It helps you make sense of the world around you. It tells your heart to pump blood to the rest of your body and your lungs to breathe so that you can stay alive. It moves your body and helps you talk and see and hear. Your brain is in charge of all the thoughts and feelings and memories that make you, you. So, hooray for the brain. It's kind of a big deal. And the book will be in the back if you want to look at it. I'm going to add that brains are all different. Not every brain is exactly the same, Brains function in different ways, and even as I've gotten older, I've learned that my brain functions really differently than I thought it did for most of my life. And so keep learning about your brain, because it's going to be with you for the whole ride. You got to take care of it. Brains sometimes can get sick, just like an arm or an elbow, and your brain might need some love and care and attention too. So take care of your brains and know that. I love you, brains and hearts out there, here with us today and at home. Thanks so much.
Good morning. If you will join us in singing Wake Now My Senses, we'll sing 4 verses, and I think you will see the words on the screen. Sure.
I'm Tina Proctor, and I'm part of the Giving in Action Committee. And I'm really pleased today to introduce Isabel Mendoza. Isabel will be talking to us about this is a long title, Project Protect Food Systems Workers. So think about farm workers when you're listening to her. She's very inspiring, and I'm really glad she could come today.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be here today. I'm really honored to represent a wonderful organization, like Tina said. It's called Project Protect Food System Workers. We are a group of immigrants, farmers, scholars, activists, unions, and workers across Colorado. Our work is to identify and elevate and address the needs of people who contribute their labor to all parts of our food systems. We were created relatively recently. We started about 2 years ago with the COVID pandemic because we realized, we got together and we realized that while workers, essential workers were called essential, they were still being treated like disposable. We realized that food system workers, farmers, dairy farmers, rancher workers, were not part of the conversation. They were dying at higher rates, and their voices were not being heard. So we came together and we started this organization. We're very proud of the work that we have done so far. The work we do is basically divided in two arms. We have a policy and advocacy part of it. We're very proud of having worked last year with the Farm Workers' Bill of Rights. It's a historic bill that we were able to push through, and even though it has been signed into law, there is still a lot of people who have used the exploitation of Black and brown people as part of the business model. They're still trying to water down the bill. Another part of our work focuses on our promotora network, which I'm very proud of being the manager of. Our promotoras are basically, well, about 60, mostly women, all of us to different degrees bilingual. They work and live in all regions of Colorado. Basically, our promotoras are really inspiring people. In one way or another, they're very tied to farm work. They either have been or are currently farm workers, or their family members are, or they have been in areas with a lot of farm work, and like they have families, so they're very tied to each region. And what they do whatever is needed to support the workers. There is no place that is too far. Our promotoras go and help our farm workers with access to food, with education, with legal services, with whatever they might need. That might be a ride that they need to take to a doctor's appointment, or to keep an eye in the bad labor conditions to make sure that those voices are elevated. So we're really proud of our promotora network, and we really appreciate your support. Thank you.
I just wanted to remind you of the ways that you can donate. I think if you're watching online, then there is there a barcode up here? No, okay. So you have to go online onto our website, and you just click on giving at the top, and then go down to donate, and there's a drop-down menu for giving an action. It's really easy to do. And also, as you leave, those of you here, there'll be a big red basket. I can see it right there in the back, so be sure and get out your money and get it ready to give as you leave. Thank you very, very much. It's a really important project.
A stick, a stone, it's the end of the road. It's the rest of the stump, it's a little alone. It's a sliver of glass, it is life, it's the sun. It is night, it is death, it is trap, it's a gun. The oak when it blooms, a fox and a thrush, a knot in the wood, the song of a thrush, the wood of the wind, a cliff, a fall, a scratch, a lump. It is nothing at all. It's the wind blowing free. It's the end of the slope. It's a beam, it's a void, it's a hunch, it's a hope. And the riverbank sings of the waters of March. In the end of the strain, it's a joy in your heart. The foot, the ground, the flesh and the bone, the beat of the road, a slingshot stone, a fish, a flash, a silvery glow, a fight, a bet, the range of a bow, and the bed of the well, and the end of the line, the dismay in the face. It's a loss, it's a find, a spear, a spike, a point, a nail, a drip, a drop, the end of the tale. A truckload of bricks in the soft morning light, the shot of a gun in the dead of the night. A mile, a must, a thrust, a bump. It's a girl, it's a rhyme, it's a cold, it's the mumps. The planet and house, the body in bed, the car you're stuck, it's the mud, a float, a grift, a flight, a wing, a hawk, a quail, the promise of spring, and the riverbank sings with the waters of March. It's the promise of life, it's the joy in your heart. Snake, a stick, it is John, it is Joe. It's a thorn in your hand and a cut on your toe. A point, a grain, a bee, a bite, a blink, a buzzard, a sudden stroke of night. A pin, a needle, a sting, a pain, a snail, a riddle, a wasp, a stain. A pass in the mountains, a horse and a mule. In the distance of shells rose three shadows of blue, and the riverbank sings of the waters of March. It's the promise of life in your heart, in your heart. A stick, a stone, the end of the load, the rest of a stump, a lonesome road. A sliver of glass, a life, a sun, a night, a death, the end of a run. And the riverbank sings of the waters of March. It's the end of all strain, it's the joy in your heart.
Very nice, thank you. I want to mention one thing briefly before I do our prayer this morning, which is that if you are relatively new around here, you'd like to learn more about this congregation, what we do, what we stand for, I'm offering 2 sessions of a class I call Finding Yourself at First Unitarian. More information is on our website and in First Announce. And even if you've been around for a while, if you're curious and want to connect with some folks, I highly recommend you sign up for that. A few joys and concerns of our larger community. I want to hold up that Sally Madsen is having a very significant surgery on Wednesday. We send her prayers for a successful and as pain-free of a procedure as can be managed. We have to hold up today the people of Ukraine, the children of Ukraine, the workers and families and lovers, artists, soldiers, mothers, farmers of Ukraine. may there be a ceasefire. May there be compassion. May there be sanity and hope. May the world continue to put pressure on the machines of war to stop the invasion and find a way to live in peace. It shouldn't be that hard. And along with Ukraine, equal prayers and hopes for the workers, the families, the lovers, the artists, soldiers, mothers, and children of Tigray in Ethiopia. Almost 1 million people hungry and malnourished. Tens of thousands of deaths. Again, may there be a ceasefire. May there be compassion. May there be sanity and hope. May the world and may we continue to put pressure on the machines of war and disinformation. May all of us find a way to live in peace. It shouldn't be this hard. Our prayer today has the title of Bahatva. It was written by Aurora Levins Morales. This is your sacred task. This is your power. Imagine the exact smell of summer streets in which no one has been shot. The muscles you have never unclenched from worry, gone soft as newborn skin. The sparkling taste of food when we know that no one on earth is hungry. That the beggars are fed, that the old man under the bridge and the woman wrapping herself in thin sheets in the back seat of a car, and the children who suck on stones nest under a flock of roofs that keep multiplying their shelter. Lean with all your being toward that day when the poor of the world shake down a rain of good fortune out of the heavy clouds and justice rolls down like waters. Defend the world in which we win as if it were your child. It is your child. Defend it as if it were your lover. It is your lover. When you inhale and when you exhale, breathe the possibility of another world into the 37.2 trillion cells of your body until it shines with hope. And then imagine more. Imagine rape is unimaginable. Imagine war as a scarcely credible rumor. That the crimes of our age, the grotesque inhumanities of greed, the sheer and astounding shamelessness of it, the vast fortunes made by stealing lives, the horrible normalcy it came to have is unimaginable to our heirs, the generations of the free. Don't waver. Don't let despair sink its sharp teeth into the throat with which you sing. Escalate your dreams. Make them burn so fiercely that you can follow them down any dark alleyway of history and not lose your way. Make them burn clear as a starry drinking gourd over the grim fog of exhaustion and keep walking. Hold hands. Share water. Keep imagining so that we, the children of our children's children, may live. Amen.
This is the sound of one voice, one spirit, one voice, sound of one who makes a choice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of voices too. Sound of me singing with you, helping each other to make it through. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices three, singing together in harmony, surrendering to the mystery. This is the sound of voices three. This is the sound of voices three. This is the sound of all of us, singing with love and the will to trust. Leave the rest behind and turn to dust. This is the sound of all of us. This is the sound of all of us. This is the sound of one voice, one people, one voice, a song for every one of us. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice.
We are so blessed with these musicians. So about a week ago, I was talking with my younger son. He has just turned 22. He's a senior up at CSU, and I sometimes lovingly, and I do mean lovingly, refer to him as my insufferably opinionated, radical leftist economics student. And by the way, if you ever feel yourself in the need of a passionate lecture about the evils of American capitalism, he's your guy. So we were talking about a philosophy class that he is taking right now this semester, and they had just finished reading the French philosopher René Descartes. Descartes, you might remember, was famous for concluding that all things merely physical were doubtful, subject to doubt, and that consciousness, the mind, the thing that thinks thoughts, was the only thing trustworthy. Descartes is the author of that famous phrase, cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. So my beloved son, the radical leftist economics student, who at 22 has the great privilege of knowing almost everything, was not impressed by Descartes. Too many words, too circular, and missing the obvious, right? That the so-called mind exists only because of physicality. The electrochemical, vascular, cellular, carbon-based, oxygenated construction of our evolving, protoplastic, undeniably physical flesh. One of the words that describes Descartes' philosophy is dualism. The basic idea that the mind and the body are separate and distinct things. They do not share the same essential nature. One being merely a vessel for the other, for the essential. And this way of thinking has led to a whole slew of powerful, easy metaphors for thinking about the mind. Metaphors that many of us learned in school. Like, the mind is like a telephone switchboard, making or breaking connections between ideas, facts, or input. Or the mind is like a computer, taking in data, performing operations, putting out results. Or the ever popular, the mind is like a muscle, and you can grow yours if you try, or make it stronger by exercising it, all of which assume that the mind is in fact something sort of contained, something discrete, something essentially separate from, independent of the world that it lives in. It is incalculable, really, how influential this thinking is and has been in Western culture and language. Dualism is a foundational element of most Christian theology. And in many ways, it's an essential underpinning of every ism we could think of. Classism, racism, sexism, patriarchy, on and on. If the pure mind, right, is the only noble truth, then the more refined the mind, the more noble and worthy the thinker. Well, guess who gets to define, and guess who has historically had access to the kind of education that refines thinking minds? Yes, of course, wealthy white men. This is not a surprise. But it turns out dualism has not held up well under modern science, and the people who study consciousness nowadays will tell you that all of those easy metaphors are not only dead wrong, they actually hinder understanding rather than enhance it. What we're coming to understand is that there's no such thing as an isolated, objective mind. There is no way to accurately suppose that the mind can somehow remain separate from the information it takes in. And this is not only fascinating and fun, I hope to show you that non-dualism is profoundly spiritual and profoundly hopeful for all of us. By the way, did you hear that Descartes once went to a pub and ordered a whiskey? And when he finished it, the bartender asked if he'd like another, and Descartes said, "I think not," and promptly vanished without a trace. Embodied cognition, as opposed to abstract cognition, is the phrase most people use to describe this way of understanding thinking and the mind. And the best introduction to embodied cognition that I've come across is from my new favorite author, ecofeminist poet and storyteller Sophie Strand. She wrote, "What if I told you the spider's web is more than a web? What if I told you the spider's web is the spider's mind? The spider, practically blind, sees through minuscule vibrations. And where those vibrations come from? Through the exquisite structure of its web, transmitting back the music of the ecosystem into the spider's body, sitting like an iris inside a lacy eye. The spider tugs and flexes and tightens its grip on the different strings, creating an interrogative experience with the web, with the world. Scientists have likened this behavior to the activity of the brain itself, sifting through and reacting to stimuli, each tug a question, each returning vibration a reply. In this way, spiders can sense which part of their webs attract more flies. They can tell when prey has been caught immediately. And when the webs are damaged, spiders perceive the damage and locate the exact spot where they hurry to make repairs. This begs the question, where is the spider's mind? Is it inside the spider's actual brain? Is it in the spinnerets or the legs? Is it in the web itself? Research across realms of cognitive psychology, philosophy, neuroscience, and biology have increasingly arrived at a concept that most indigenous populations already honor. The mind doesn't just live in the head. And in the case of spiders and humans, the mind can extend beyond what we classically identify as the body. So this is the essence of understanding embodied as opposed to abstract cognition. Thinking and awareness that take place not just beyond the brain, but even beyond the body. A holistic experience where the perceiver of the world and the world being perceived are not separate, but intimately, infinitely connected through the common medium of electromagnetic, chemical, vascular, cellular, molecular biology, physicality. Embodied cognition says it's more accurate to understand and think about thinking, consciousness, and awareness not as something that takes place just inside your head, but more like we might consider a bird in flight. Exactly where does flight take place? Is it in feathers? Is it in the bone structures of a wing? Is it in the air beneath the wings? Is it in the mind of the bird directing the wings to move in certain ways? And the answer is that flight is in all of these. Flight doesn't have a precise location because flight is an action of the whole creature in its whole environment. You can't really think about it any other way. Along those lines, although we need a brain to think, and the brain does many measurable things, as Aaron showed us earlier, with neurons and electrochemistry, none of that is actually thinking. Embodied cognition tells us that thinking is an action of the whole person in its whole environment. This means cognition is a fundamentally relational process, something that happens interstitially among many dynamics, many of them, maybe most of them, outside the body. Isn't that fascinating? I love to imagine all our senses, right, alive and alert, spreading out to feel the world. Touch, taste, smell, sound, vision like a spider web. Every awareness, a conscious or unconscious question. Every returning vibration, every nuance, every texture, every eye contact, every tiny movement of air against our skin, an answer. Not just observed, but part of the thinking itself. thinking as an ongoing interactive dialogue with the universe. Literally, the universe interrogating and aware of itself. I mean, how cool is that? A few weeks ago, we talked about fungi. How fungi link entire forests beneath the soil, sharing information, breaking down organic material, storing water and minerals which they exchange for sugars and oxygen. And we talked about how fungi can be thought of as a kind of the nervous system of a whole forest, allowing the whole forest and everything in it to act as a complex, self-sustaining network of life. Each part evolved and still evolving within the whole for the good of the whole. And we alluded to, but we didn't directly say, that this understanding forces us to rethink, re-experience, reimagine, for example, everything we think we know about trees, or ferns, or birds, or insects, or spores, or pollen, or every other component of a forest ecosystem. None of those individual things exist in a vacuum. They are as they are because of everything else. Inextricable, indivisible. So I want to invite you to do a little conscious embodied cognition. George Lakoff and others have shown that most of our language, and therefore most of our thinking, is metaphorical. And because our thinking informs our emotions, even our emotions are conceived and experienced metaphorically. Consider just a tiny handful of examples. Right? Sadness and depression are heavy and dark. Happiness and joy are light and airy. Power is high. It's above. It's over. Submission or acquiescence is low. Underneath. Affection and love are warm and cozy and soft and comfortable. Scorn and disdain are cold, hard, sharp. When we say something, when we can't understand something, we say it's over our heads. Or it's beyond us, as if we literally can't see or reach it. When we think we do understand something, we say, oh, we got that nailed down. Or we get it, as if we're literally taking possession of some object. So here's your little experiment for the week. Try to pay attention to all the metaphors, the physical metaphors in your language and thinking. And if Lakoff is right, every single one of them will be a commonly experienced embodied action, embodied object, or embodied sensation. If you want to take it further, notice how it goes the other way as well. Notice how our thoughts manifest themselves in our body. Like we lean forward when we're thinking about the future. And we sit back when we're thinking about the past. We tend to look up when we're wondering about or searching for an answer. We tend to look down when we're concentrating or trying to make ourselves remember something. On and on it goes. Lakoff says, you couldn't detach your thinking from the embodied world if you tried. And I actually just tried to say that without using some kind of an embodied metaphor, and I couldn't do it. You notice I used the word detach. So why am I bringing all this to church? Fascinating though it is. What does embodied cognition have to do with religion or spirituality? allow me a couple observations. If you know me, you know that one of my major pet peeves is bad religion. That is, religion that afflicts when it should be comforting and comforts when it should be afflicting. Religion that otherizes parts of the human or the non-human world. Religion that pushes sin over wholeness, hate over love. Religion that can't celebrate diversity or survive a collision with the truth. On the other hand, I'm passionately interested in good religion, which I define more or less as follows. I think good religion understands that all of us, every living thing is born into a kind of covenant just by virtue of existence. We are inextricably, inescapably bound, deeply related in body and in spirit, literally, symbolically, physically, spiritually woven into the fabric of something infinitely larger than we are, that we do not and maybe even cannot comprehend. I think good religion asks religious questions like, what are the roots of caring and love in a competitive world? Or where do we find models of love that are not exploitation? Good religion keeps questions like these in front of us and allows great creativity in how we try to answer them. Good religion believes in possibilities. Good religion does not ask us to turn off our brains in order to accept some patent absurdity about God or heaven or hell or the will of God or anything else about which we really have no freaking knowledge whatsoever. Good religion doesn't tell us that our bodies are inherently sinful, our desires inherently bad, our pleasures not equally full of grace as our toil, our love any less worthy because of who might receive it. Amen? I think good religion is able to sing praises. Good religion is comfortable in blessing what is worthy and good, is brave enough to name evil for what it is. Good religion is willing to sacrifice for the sake of love or justice. Good religion is hopeful enough to dream of a better world and spirited enough to work for it. Amen? I'm suggesting spiritually, emotionally, cognitively, letting go of a phony dualism, living into an understanding of an embodied cognition will change our relationships with each other, will change our understanding and our experience of the divine, will ground our spirituality in life-giving unity, will instantly undermine and make irrelevant any habitual thoughts we might have or assumptions that we've been taught about racism, classism, sexism, or any other holier-than-thouism. Will force us to see the non-human world as equally worthy of our love and protection. I'm suggesting that seeing ourselves and each other as embodied beings rather than as beings who happen to have bodies will grow our capacities for love and connection and move us closer to the divine love which all good religion holds up as an ideal. You are so much more than your history. You are so much more than your flaws and your neuroses. You are sunlight and starlight and rain. You are oceans and sky. You are mountains and clouds. You are the shape of air around rocks and trees. You are life-giving fungi and the force that pushes up grass and flowers towards the sky. You are the love in each other's eyes, the fire in their hearts, the warmth of their touch. I would argue your body already knows this. And I'm suggesting that as all of who you are, comes to know this, that is how you will come to be known. Amen.
You do not have to be good. Even the best of us has been misunderstood. So get up onto your feet. The sun is shining, repentance through the leaves. Its rays will wash you clean. I'm walking slowly, I'm taking my time. All this lack of talking is starting to rhyme. I'm letting go of lonely, letting go of strife. I just can't get enough of this beautiful life. I just can't get enough of this beautiful life. You do not have to be known. Even the best of us have sometimes felt alone. This whole world is your home. So reach out your branches, let your roots down to the soil, and watch the rain help you grow. I'm walking slowly, I'm taking my time. All this lack of talking is starting to rhyme. I'm letting go of lonely, letting go of strife. I just can't get enough of this beautiful life. I just can't get enough of this beautiful life. This world is so amazing, worthy of our embracing, dreaming of God on a sandy shore, saved by amazing grace, or maybe my lack of faith. The seasons change, but they come back the same. They'll wash you clean with their rays. I'm walking slowly, I'm taking my time. All our lack of talking is starting to rhyme. I'm letting go of lonely, letting go of strife. I just can't get
please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing our closing affirmation. And then please remain standing for the benediction.
Behind all our differences and beneath our diversity, there is a unity that makes us one and binds us forever together throughout all time, through life and death, and the space between the stars, throughout all time, through life and death, and the space between the stars.
Friends, in a round world, what goes around comes around. Circles and cycles of stars, seasons of growth and decay, birth and death, and unexpected resurrection. You and I and we are inextricably linked to all that is and was and ever will be. Amen. Our service is ended. Go in peace.